You're tuned into the It's Real podcast with your hosts, Kayla, Kallander, and Andrew Yaggie. Each week, we'll talk about what happens behind the scenes working full-time in real estate and share with you real-life stories, our successes and failures as we work to help consumers and industry professionals reach their real estate and real-life goals. Here we go.
Welcome to episode 90 of the It's Real podcast. I'm Kayla Kallander, and I'm a mortgage lender.
I'm Andrew Yaggie, and I'm a real estate agent. 90 episodes, Kayla. Can you believe it?
Who would have thought? 90 episodes. I think that most podcasts, I could be wrong, but there's a stat that most don't even make it to 10. Look at us. Wow. We're doing it.
And some that make it to 90 should have never made it past 10 or something.
Yeah, maybe. And, I hope that people get some value out of this. And, I hope people are listening in. And we still get people that comment and, hey, I listened to this and I got some value. And keeps us going, right?
For sure. No, I think there are a lot of people that get, even, like they say in the Bible, wherever two or three are gathered, there too shall I be. And so wherever kind of we could equate it, even in the real estate world, if one or two or three people, watch this, and if they get something out of it, hey, we're here to help. We're here to give advice.
And I get to see you every week.
For sure.
Wow, lucky me.
As NDSU alumni, neither one of us can, really seem to get back for homecoming, or I guess you've had other things going on, so have I. But we go our little homecoming ritual.
Yeah, we always say we're going to do it. I haven't even been tailgating or to a game this year yet. It's just been weekends at the lake, things like that. But it's kind of the thing to do. Like, go tailgating, have fun. It's good networking. It's good community. But even I haven't been there, and I'm in Fargo. So
no, I hear you.
But
so, Kayla, you've been, we obviously haven't connected for a couple of weeks because we've both been pretty busy just between real estate, mortgage, family stuff, travel, farming. In case you were in Vegas, though, recently for an event.
I was.
Pretty awesome. And what was it again? Something mortgage related.
Yeah, it was the Mortgage Bankers Association. It's their MBA annual. So it's an annual event where there were roughly somewhere between 3,000 and 3,500 mortgage professionals there. So a little intimidating, I will say, because it's not a lot of lenders. It's a lot of decision makers, a lot of CEOs, presidents, people that are really making the decisions at the top. It's a lot of vendors. It's a lot of technology and how to improve, and great speakers. Maria Shriver was there. It's a really great event. And I had the opportunity to step on stage. The MBA asked me to come and speak, and we talked. Our panel was called From Post to Profit. So it was talking about how utilizing Google, AI, social media, all these different avenues is so important to getting business and converting business. And it's really not going away. And I think that, a lot of companies still think billboards and direct mail, although awesome, great, that more than ever now, people are going to their phones and searching. And it's so important, one to many, to get in front of people. So I had the opportunity to speak on that, and, how my business has evolved, and just basically touched on that and gave advice to anyone that came to our panel. So it was a really good experience.
Sure. And I'm sure you made some new friends, new relationships.
Always.
What else, give me just, maybe the biggest one or two takeaways, or, actionable things that, you're going to use in your business to better serve your clients?
I would say that I would say AI. So AI is a double-edged sword, right? And I think that one of my biggest takeaways is to utilize AI in the right way. I think a lot of people are utilizing it, and you can tell they're using it, and it's robotic. I am getting so many takeaways to use AI as a lift, but not as a replacement. Use AI to help amplify my voice, not replace it. So I've just been really focused on how can I use this to help, or, create efficiencies. There's so many different things you can do. But how do I continue to maintain those relationships and that human connection? So that's probably my biggest takeaway. There's so many vendors there, and so many things, from credit to servicing to here's how you can underwrite a loan faster. There's so much of that. But for me, as a kind of a self-employed person in a company, I guess you could say, is how do you use it to create more space to be able to do these kinds of things? Connection, human. So that's probably my biggest takeaway.
Sure. Yeah, undoubtedly the connection piece is so important. And even I was doing a little bit of corporate flying the other day for, a fairly large corporation, and a number of the higher ups were going to visit with one of their biggest clients. And, they certainly talk over the phone quite a bit. They have Zoom meetings and the like, but there's nothing more important than going and being face to face and spending some quality time, with some of those individuals. And I think just in daily life, again, when we sit here and we have our phone here, it's really easy to hide behind technology, or you talk about hide behind AI, or let AI take care of X, Y, or Z. But I try to be very intentional about getting together in person, with some of my best clients, or some of the people that I'm closest to. Even the other day, I was in Canada, Kayla, and we were in Edmonton, Alberta, and I always look, if I'm ever doing some sort of flying, it's like, hey, who might I know in the area that I could connect with face-to-face time? And so I ended up connecting with a friend of mine, Tim, who we grew up, we were childhood friends. I was probably closer with his brothers, but haven't seen him in probably 15 years. But it was so awesome to get together and just face-to-face, go grab lunch and catch up and, reminisce a little bit. So the human element is so important.
It is. And I think too, like, what's great is technology does help us continue those relationships. But, I'm sure when you guys met, it was like you just picked up from where you took off. And I would say, being in Vegas too, I was seeing people that I'd never met in real life that you feel like you've known forever. And so it's so important to have that, because that just continues to help grow that relationship. So I love that you do that when you fly. That's very profound, I would say. Like, you're really thinking about, who could I reach out to? Who could I connect with? Like, that's amazing. Because a lot of people don't want to meet anymore. Even like having neighbors, you don't even like answer your door anymore. So that's important.
Well, and I think, society and people in general are kind of lonely just because of the technology piece. And I love people. I love getting to know people. I love, helping connect people, solving problems and the like. And, like they say, your network is your net worth. So like there's value, and that's how, if you help other people succeed and take interest in them, you're going to find success. So I don't know. I get a lot out of it. Even probably a month ago, Kayla, I was doing a flight out to Western North Dakota and just started chatting with one of the gals who worked at the FPO at the airport. And she was the charter director. And it turns out that her side hustle is real estate as well. So, hey, I just built a referral partner, especially as it's like, hey, I have people that come to the lakes area, and I do have people, looking out there every once in a while. So it's fun to just make those connections, because you never know when it might help out, even if it doesn't help me or a client, someone like you or someone else might call and say, hey, who do you know out here? Or, hey, how can we solve this problem?
Yeah. And I think too, like, a lot of people will always think, well, why, you go to these conferences and you connect with other lenders, but they're your competition. And I'm like, no, they're collaboration. I can't tell you how many times I've, connected with, for example, my buddy who's a loan officer in Michigan. We meet monthly and talk about marketing strategies. I've got a girlfriend down in Oklahoma, never met her. She's a lender, but we share ideas. And hey, how are you handling these refinance conversations? And what are some strategies that you're using to help your clients? And I think that's the same thing with you. And you don't necessarily help people search for homes in another state, but having someone else to refer to, a trusted advisor, if you will, like, so important. So it's spot on that your network is your net worth.
Yep, it definitely is. So awesome. Well, I enjoyed that conversation. I saw Kayla as well on social media that you guys had was this a gala, Kayla?
Yeah, sort of. It was Wags, Whiskers, and Wine, which is a Homeward Animal Shelter annual event. And this year it was like Studio 54, like glitz and glam. And what's really great about this is it's not like a sit down meal. It's really kind of come and go. There is like I guess how do you say it? Like, they talk, they give a presentation, if you will. and they had a dog named Nilla Wafer that they brought in, and really there's some games and some fun things and a silent auction, and there's bidding. And what's really great is it just brings in, money for our organization, and we're really trying to build this new shelter that's so needed. We are at capacity. Like, dogs are, on top of each other in kennels, and a lot of dogs have to be out and fostered, and cats. And so I love this event every year, but it's so important now because we have a very lofty goal for Homeward Animal Shelter to raise money for this really big facility that's so needed. So
Sure.
It was a really great event, had a lot of wonderful people show up.
Sure. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you're involved in that and continue to be involved in it. I know obviously it's one of your passions, so that's really awesome.
Yeah, it is. And, I'm on the board of directors, and, some people think, oh, you get to play with dogs all the time. No, that's not how that works. I wish. But a lot of, heavy decisions are made, and big decisions, especially now as we continue to have a capital campaign to essentially have this space for Fargo. It's so needed. So it's fun to be part of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Yeah, I think our local Humane Society, they're doing an expansion, and I know I just got something in the mail the other day looking for some funds. So I think it's an issue. Well, obviously for most every nonprofit out there, just the sustainability and the fundraising and the dollars and cents is so challenging, especially today when we've seen inflation, we've seen costs rise. I mean, look, housing. Mm-hmm. Our day-to-day living, our groceries, everything is so expensive. And then, you were talking about AI a little bit, and I was just reading yesterday. Did you read about Amazon and some of the big employers cutting jobs?
Heard a little bit about it, but I did not dive in. Tell me more.
So Amazon's looking at, cutting as many as 30,000 corporate jobs. They've cut 14,000 so far. They're going to cut more. I saw there were, other employers like UPS, who are looking at making some pretty large cuts, just again, they're trying to be more efficient. They're looking for shareholder value, everything that's great for investors. But boy, really an interesting and kind of challenging time, for society. I think about when I moved into real estate, even five years ago, Kayla, and just how, technology was there, but AI wasn't really a thing. I guess it wasn't talked about, and just how far things have come.
Yeah.
And even when I preach to my team, and we're going to be doing some, strategic planning and goal planning, and just kind of talking tech, like every one of us, if we don't stay on top of, the changing trends in technology, there's a target on everybody's back.
There is. I think back to like when people were like, I don't want internet on my phone. Why would I ever want internet on my phone? And I remember thinking that to an extent, like, yeah, why do you need that? And think where you'd be today if you didn't adapt. You know what I mean? And you're going to get left behind, and it gets scary because things are progressing quickly with technology, and it's important. Hopefully it doesn't replace us, but again, it's back to the use it to your best advantage to help, give you lift. So
for sure.
100%.
Well, Kayla, let's talk housing a little bit, and let's talk about the government shutdown, because here we're sitting in, the longest federal government shutdown of all time now, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of at that point. And obviously, and it's kind of sad that, we're in such a divided place, and, we've never, seen more division, in our government. Even social media obviously exacerbates that and drives a wedge even, between friends and neighbors and everything too, which is challenging. But nonetheless, we kind of have to play the hand we're dealt, which is a challenging hand, especially for so many people in so many ways, but especially in housing. Tell me a little bit about what you're seeing in housing, Kayla, and some of the challenges maybe that you're seeing people face with the government shutdown.
Yeah, I think kind of the biggest thing was for most people was USDA. That was a big thing, was that you couldn't proceed with USDA loans. And I had a client that we were going to go USDA. We switched conventional. Thank goodness we did, because I don't know that we would be closing on Friday. Now there are some things that the governor has, implemented where there is going to be some progression with that program, but essentially it's just slowing a lot of things down. It's not stopping FHA or it's not stopping VA, but what it is stopping, as you can see here, it's national flood insurance. So if you are purchasing a home in a flood zone, you could not purchase national, you have to go private. So it's not a huge deal, but it just kind of limits your options. So we've pivoted. We've had a couple people in flood zones, especially here in Fargo. But essentially it's really slowing things down. Like we get tax transcripts from the IRS, and there's just some things behind the scenes that we do that it's just slowing things down. So now more than ever, communication is incredibly important. Clients need to get us their items timely. We can't be, waiting. And we just have to be a little bit more forthcoming in the fact that, hey, let's get this loan to underwriting quicker because some things may take a little bit longer. So ultimately, it's been a little bit more of a delay with some things. But, it's business as usual for the most part with us, except for the whole fact of the flood insurance we just need to watch. So if you're a realtor or a lender or a client, you just need to be aware if you're writing an offer and that house is in a flood zone, just know that you will need to purchase private flood insurance.
Sure. So, yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, and unfortunate in some ways. I think I shared it probably 3 weeks ago, but I had a deal that was closing USDA, and we are so lucky that we moved the closing date up because it was at the very beginning of the government shutdown, and boy, we just narrowly had everything approved. So, some things that you don't think about, but obviously can be reality.
Well, and I think too, one thing that I see a lot is not everybody does this, but realtors will say, let's move the closing date. Hey, we got to move the closing date up. We're back. And hey, something happened. I just had this happen where we were supposed to close on Friday. Something happened with the seller's title. Actually, the seller passed away and there was some things not taken care of. So we had to push it out. And the comment is, oh, just push it out. Well, we also have a rate that we've locked, and that lock expires. And if we don't close it on time, the client has to pay an extension fee to keep that lock. And so it's important to know too that, these delays, these things, like it can impact the client's bottom line as well.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I faced that a couple of years ago with a subpar lender because they didn't have their act together, and they ended up costing the buyers quite a bit of extra money because of the lock issue. So as we say, to beat a dead horse, it matters who you work with.
Man, it does. And we'll have to do another episode on rate locks and, getting quoted a rate of, for example, 5.5%, but it's a 15-day lock and you need a 75 days. So there's a lot that goes into it. So more than ever, I think the biggest takeaway is communication. So.
Kayla, I really appreciated you sharing this graphic with me and talking again about first-time home buyers. And, we talk about first-time home buyers quite a bit. Number one, because, we're kind of in that age group. But number two, because, we have a lot of people that are coming to us who are trying to buy. And these days, again, the average first-time home buyer is up from an age of about 30 to 38.
38, yeah.
Age the highest since 1981. And, just talking about some of the challenges, which you probably see even a little bit more than I do, Kayla.
Yeah, I think we see a lot of people that don't even get to realtors because they're discouraged or they think they need 20% down or they don't think they can do it. But yeah, the average age of a first-time home buyer is 38, which it feels crazy, but that's continuing to go higher. But as you can see here, it says 81% say down payment and closing costs are significant obstacles to buying a home. Well, then what are some ways to work around that? Down payment assistance. Can you get a seller concession? In this market, I'm still seeing seller concessions. I just had one for $12,500. So it's this creating a narrative in your head, I think, is what's happening with first-time home buyers. And so they don't necessarily talk to a lender or they talk to one lender. So that's a scary fact. 81% say it's a significant obstacle. Now, it is an obstacle if they haven't saved or, things are more expensive. So that's a true reality. And then 73% of would-be homebuyers who were unsuccessful in buying a home within the last 4 years plan to try again in 2025. So, again, just because you're told no or not right now, I have a client right now was told they need 20% down by another lender. We are working to get them pre-qualified. And what we're seeing is they would need 3% down. This is, again, a very similar situation I had recently with another client. And it's because they didn't dive into their income, their history. So we're diving in. We could easily say you've got variable income, you need to be on your job for a year. But my team and I were saying, okay, what are some other options we have? Could we get a letter of explanation? Could we document something? She was a nanny. Maybe we could put that in her work history. Like there's so many things that can be done if your lender takes that extra step. And then 49% of Gen Z homebuyers feel fully prepared for the home buying process. And I think Gen Z is able to access more information than I would say our previous generations. I think TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, I mean, they have everything at their fingertips. And then 21% of prospective Gen Z homebuyers plan to rely on family loans for a down payment. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of people get gifts for their down payment. Hey, dad's going to help me out. Hey, mom's going to be able to give this to me and help bridge that gap. So we do see a lot of gift options from family members, more than probably you would think.
Yeah, I've actually seen it quite a bit more recently. And I think just going hand in hand with the affordability issue, a lot of people just are not able to get into homes without that help. And Kayla, I think there's a lot of confusion, regarding gifts though too, and what you can do and can't do. Can you talk about that a little bit, from the perspective of a lender, just because I know sometimes if things are done improperly, it can make things more difficult for you as a lender or can disqualify people. Talk about it a little bit.
I love this. I could talk about guideline forever. Okay. So a lot of people think, well, anybody can give me money. I can get a gift. I think people just don't realize it. They don't stop to think, oh, I should have asked that. So a gift has to be typically from a family member or someone blood related. So a lot of times we can do gifts of equity. Sometimes you can do like just, hey, I'm going to write them a check, send a wire. But sometimes we see people try to get gifts from employers or a gift from a friend. And so it has to be from an eligible donor. So if you are thinking about getting funds from somebody, you have to make sure you talk to your lender. A lot of times it could be someone in marriage or fiance. Like there's certain ways to get that gift, but you really need to talk to someone because it cannot just be from a buddy or a friend. And you can see on here who is an eligible donor. Okay, blood, marriage, adoption, legal guardianship, right? A family relationship like a fiance, trust established by an eligible donor, and then just essentially an estate of a related person. So there's a lot that we have to remember when it comes to just accepting money from anybody. So, and we have to be careful too, because, the actual purchase, is it a primary? Is it an investment? We have to be careful getting gifts on an investment property. So it's not just in general a blanket. You have to make sure what are you using it for. A lot of times you cannot use gifts for reserves. Reserves is just assets that you have that, for example, retirement. You're not going to use it for the purchase. It just strengthens your file. It shows the underwriter and the GSEs that you have this asset that if something should happen, that strengthens the file. You can't get a gift fund to just pad your account. So point being, make sure you talk to your lender. I see a lot of people, Andy, where a mom will write the earnest money check. And I'm like, oh, I see your mom wrote this check. And so we now have to get a gift letter. They have to sign a letter that says they're giving you this money for this purchase. And we've had some resistance where it's like, well, they don't want to sign the letter. And I'm like, well, so it's important that even realtors know that if you're getting earnest money, make sure it's from the client buying the house, whoever's on the purchase agreement. So there's certain things like that too, where even the realtor needs to be involved as well.
Sure. Yeah. Gifts. I've seen some pretty interesting gift scenarios and a lot of explaining behind the scenes, especially when the underwriter or however the process works starts looking through, financials and trying to prove income. And it's like, okay, hold up just a minute.
Yeah.
We've had some dicey situations, which I'm sure you've seen a lot more than I have. And
yeah,
and talk about it all day long.
Yeah. And I think it's important you talk to your tax advisor too, because there's certain, scenarios where there's certain gift limits. Otherwise, you might have some tax implications. So I always share I cannot give tax or legal advice or marriage advice, but it's something that you have to remember too with gifts.
Mm-hmm. No, I like it. And yeah, you're right. We probably should do a whole episode on gifts one day just because it is. I mean, there are so many variables that go hand in hand.
Yeah. And I think too, a lot of, what do you call them? Boomers? Is that I don't know, the boomers, they're sitting on a lot of equity. They're sitting on a lot of money. And so it's easier for them to take that money out of the house that they have. And I think that's a big reason we're seeing gift funds too.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you're absolutely right. So
Mm-hmm.
Kayla, as a kind of a final segment today, I found kind of this cute article on Inman that kind of has a Halloween theme. And since we're kind of in the week of Halloween, I thought it'd be kind of fun to share it. Entitled 13 Creepy, Spooky, and Frightening Spirits and Monsters Haunting Real Estate Agents in 2025, talking about how Halloween's filled with terrors and agents beware. She warns, Rachel here, who's a trainer, warns that any of these creeps could knock at your door in Q4. Which this actually, I mean, this goes hand in hand nicely with our constant discussion on it matters who you work with.
Yes, it does.
So, Kayla, without further ado, number one, the ghost agent. They vanish faster than a foggy morning open house. After the offer is accepted, they disappear. Are they on vacation? Did they go into witness protection? No communication, no updates, and their clients are calling. They're only going to reappear on closing day like nothing happened. Have you ever dealt with a ghost agent, Kayla?
I have dealt with an agent ghosting me. In fact, recently I had a scenario where I was helping a client actually while I was in Vegas. And I remember being in the elevator and in the airport and helping them. And I've been working with them for months and they were concerned about payment. And so I gave some suggestions for a 2-1 buy down, running numbers and all the things. And all of a sudden I didn't hear from them. And I'm like, well, maybe they're just thinking on it. And I reached out and the realtor said, oh, they found a lower payment somewhere else. Well, lower payment means what? Is it the same program? Are they putting more down? Are they paying for the rate? And so I said, well, let's talk about that because remember, there are options. And Andy, I never heard back from the agent. I called the agent. I reached out to the consumer. Hey, just checking in. I know you might have a lower payment. Let's talk about it. I want to make sure you're taken care of. I reached out probably 4 times and nothing from either party, which it's disappointing because it is time and energy and you want the best for your client. But I think people forget it costs us money to pull credit reports and verifications of employment. And, ultimately at the end of the day, like it's a lot of work put in, but to just be ghosted, you could just say, hey, we decided to go somewhere else, or, hey, we for sure are going this route. And so I think that whole ghosting thing in real estate, it's hard not to take personally. You know what I mean?
But it doesn't just happen in real estate. It happens in so many areas. I just basically someone who was trying to lease a property who more or less ghosted all of those involved and did end up resurfacing, but was disinterested. But I wish, like, whether it's with individuals seeking employment or people buying or whatever, just like, hey, if you don't want to work here or don't want to work with me or what, just say so and like let's move on, but be respectful about it.
Yeah, it's like I'd rather know than just keep guessing. And I think too in our industry we want to follow up too. We want to make sure that we're not dropping the ball. Like, but that's energy and like let me just put you to the side and like say, okay, you're moving on. Like, again, communication. Communication is kind.
I think you need, since you said AI was a big takeaway from your Vegas event, I think you need to work on developing an AI tool for lenders and agents really that helps rank individuals as far as, how serious are they and are they like give them a score of sorts.
Yeah, an AI score of seriousness because we put in a lot of energy up front. I mean, it can take weeks sometimes. We just have a client right now that it's taken us, Andy, about 2 months to get them pre-qualified because of the multiple jobs and the employers won't get us what we need. And there's variable income and they were in Canada and it was so difficult. We finally have it. And it's like, okay, I hope they're serious because we just spent a lot of time and money. So yeah, amen.
Well, Kayla, I want to jump on to item 2, and this isn't agent related, but it's Christine, the debt collector card. Basically, you've got a buyer that's under contract, and then what do? They turn around and buy that shiny must-have convertible 3 days before closing. And this cursed purchase haunts credit reports. Have you seen things like that happen?
Yeah, I think people think once they're final approved, they're good to go. I see people quit their jobs. I've seen people like, oh, I didn't know. And so we'd have to be proactive to say, don't do anything. And so we've been so good up front now that people even ask me, can I get a gym membership? So it used to happen more like, yes, you can get a gym membership. Like you're good. So, I mean, ultimately it still happens though. I mean, have you seen it lately?
Not lately, but yes, I have seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's disappointing. I try to tell people too, hey, if you're getting a loan, don't buy anything.
No, just stop.
Yep.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Feel item number 3, the haunted love letter. And, this talks a little bit about, not about the agent, but individuals who write a heartfelt love letter, saying why they want the property. And it turns out to a fair housing nightmare. They reveal too much, putting everybody at legal risk.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, there are some states where I think, love letters, quote unquote, are not allowed. Around here, they still happen. And, at the end of the day, some people love them, some people hate them, but yeah, they can cause spooky repercussions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good to know. I don't get involved too much with that. They're like, talk to your realtor. They'll help you out.
Kayla, this probably would tug at your heartstring because
Cujo.
you're a dramatic person, but Cujo, the 2-pound terror. This poodle may only weigh 2 pounds, but his bark and bite can ruin a showing faster than you can say, please put your shoes. The sellers swear he's sweet, but your pant leg says otherwise. So it's important, pet-wise. And I've had more bad pet experiences just with irresponsible pet owners.
Really?
Yeah, just quite a number of them. And so I like animals, but I dislike irresponsible owners.
Yeah. And I think too, when we were selling our house years ago, when we had a showing, we put all of them in the vehicle and we just took them for a ride because you never know. And I saw recently on a Facebook group, and I don't know if this is real or not, but an appraiser went to inspect a property and put the dog in a room and just shut the door. And the dog ruined the carpet and the door. And so it's like, who's responsible? The buyer, the appraiser, the seller? Like, who's responsible? It's like, just don't even take a chance. Just get them out of the house, maybe even cats too, and don't take a chance.
Number 5, Kayla, the machine. So this talks about AI, and we talked a lot about AI, how AI is taking over things, and how some individuals wonder if there's a ghost in the machine. There probably is.
Yeah.
Talking about the fact that not to rely on AI too much.
Yeah, agree.
Number 6, Kayla, the mold monster. Have you ever dealt with any homes that your buyers have been buying that have had serious mold issues?
And no, more so people trying to get out of apartments that have it, but not that I've had. How about you?
I really haven't. I've seen people buy flip houses that have been, pretty close to condemned that have been full of mold, but otherwise, no, not really.
Yeah, thank God.
Kayla, number 7, the hamburger helper ghoul, which I'm intrigued now. It's what's for dinner when times are lean and during recessions. Many a real estate agent will remember that this gourmet delight will close the gap between commissions. Oh boy, interesting.
When times are hard, life is pasta.
Yeah. Number 8, the invisible radon monster. You can't see it, smell it, or taste it, but the home inspector can. And yeah, it's kind of a challenging thing. Do you run into a lot of radon issues?
I don't see a lot. I don't. And a lot of times it's handled before it even gets to me, with an inspection, but not a ton.
You have seen a lot. Number 9, the appraisal poltergeist, Kayla.
Oof.
It talks about the scariest spirit in real estate. Everything's going great until this phantom appears with a value $30,000 under contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they blame the lender who has nothing to do with it. At that point, you let all the parties know, hey, here's the report. Here's what's happening. Was it listed too high? Did you offer too high? Can you find comps? I will say we had an appraisal come in short. I don't remember the amount. I think it was like $12,000. The realtor was so awesome, got together comps, wrote a summary, and submitted it to the appraiser. And the appraiser's like, oh, these are good points. Thank you. And the value came in higher. This was last month. So I would say you can always give the appraiser some other options. I know some people are afraid they're going to offend the appraiser, but it's just sharing comps that maybe they didn't have or realize. So that's an option.
Interesting. Yeah, I've had some appraisal doozies, which we could probably talk about another episode as well. But
appraisal doozies.
Kayla, number 10, the vampire mom and pop investor. Just talking about individuals who are investors who are charming at first until they suck the life out of the deal with endless counteroffers and last-minute demands. They've been to the seminar, bought the DVD training series, or signed up for some kind of crazy hard money gimmick, and they're trying to be investors and cut corners any way they can. And yeah, I see individuals all the time that, come and they're like, hey, I want to get into, some passive income and this and that. And Most of them are time wasters and are not individuals who, who really have any intent of buying anything, or, can a little bit challenging sometimes.
I would agree.
Mm-hmm. Kayla, we've got just a few left here. Number 11, the zombie listing, and it's been coming soon since last Halloween. It's overpriced, overexposed, and refuses to stay dead. Agents whisper about it in the office. And the costly real estate coach you hired says that if you just complete one more course with them, you'll be able to get that seller to commit. Read the signs and stay clear, especially if it's a for sale by owner. And I can think of, like, even there are, some homes here that, individuals have bounced between agents, still too high price, been on the market too long, or, they've tried to sell it on their own and just super challenging. Nobody wants to buy it.
I would say that would be difficult too, is when you've got a seller that wants to be at a certain price. And I think, I'm not a realtor, but, to have those hard conversations, because it's either a hard conversation now or later sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Kayla, number 12, the witchy HOA. And so it talks about rules, fines, and more rules. The HOA board casts spells to complicate things for buyers and sellers alike. And, we don't see as much of that around here, I don't feel like, compared to other areas. But HOAs can cause a lot of problems, even for those that don't have HOAs. Like, I've been working with a individual who's, developing some new land, and talked about restrictive covenants and trying to restrict this and that. And it's like, what drives up costs? And makes things less accessible, regulation and government. Mm-hmm. So we say that, hey, we want to protect our investment. We want to protect, those around us, and using some common sense rules, but we don't want to be overbearing.
Yeah, I think it's tough. You got to read through the covenants and make sure that, I had a friend that they couldn't have an outdoor sauna. And so they put an outdoor sauna in on their property, and the HOA had an issue with that. So it's like, just, you have to kind of be aware, but yeah, some unique situations.
In our 13th and final creepy, spooky, frightening spirit and monster that are haunting those of us in real estate is the overanalyzer, Kayla. The individuals that call and they've read every market report, every Reddit thread, and every Zillow comment section. Uncle Bob says they're paying way too much, and so on and so forth. And, constant emails, phone calls, text messages. We all run into those individuals.
I feel bad for those individuals, because they're doing their due diligence. I appreciate the questions, but they get in their own way. I've got a couple like that. And if they would have bought when they thought they could, I think of the equity they would have today and the houses they missed out on. So I think they're trying, but sometimes they get in their own way.
Amen. Well, Kayla, I hope that this Halloween is not nearly as spooky, that most of those individuals, you don't deal with those scenarios. Or those issues, especially as we're at that time of year.
Let's just get to November.
So, well, that wraps up episode 90 of the podcast. Great connecting, Kayla. I'm glad you're doing well. Glad you're growing, and we'll look forward to shooting episode 91 and kind of keeping the momentum going. Otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of the week.
I will, if you will. Talk to you soon. Bye.